Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Body Mastery with Stan. And for those of you who have been following us all this time, we are nearing the end of 2024. Can you believe it? Another year has just flown by. So, as we wrap up this year, Stan is going to give us the highlights of some of the major things that we have spoken about this year and some newbies to help us to think along the lines of simple hacks to master longevity. Stan, what we got for us today?
Well, one of the things that I want to say is that as we do draw to the end of the year, well, just take an inventory of where you were last year at this time. And so many people we come to that funny time of the year, the new year, and we make all these New Year's resolutions, but yet we set ourselves up for that New Year's resolution at the beginning of this month. And I say the beginning of this month because we just got out of November and everybody went to different functions at different places, and there was turkey and ham and all kinds of cookies and sweets and treats, and we find ourselves doing a lot of sitting, a lot of yapping, and a lot more sitting. And we're thinking about tomorrow, we're thinking about increasing our longevity. But as we come into this season, one of the things we want to be cognizant of is, what am I doing to prepare myself for the beginning of the year? And what are the simple things that I can implement into my life? So I have 5 simple exercises. I bring it up on both hands because we're going to use both hands when we do this. And so one of the things that we can do to just test what is our ability and how are we increasing our longevity is a simple exercise, no equipment needed, is standing on one leg. So what is a monitor, a measurement that we can do by standing on one leg? Well, I want to just say that if you stand on one leg, and let's say you're over the age of 60, you should be able to stand on that leg for 25 to 30 seconds. Now, if you're under the age of 60, I want to say in their 20s, you should be able to stand on one leg for at least a minute without losing your balance. Now, if you start losing your balance, you know that not only is your vision challenged, but the part of the brain that controls balance, it could be off as well. So as our head gets kind of complacent, let's just make it simple like that, we tend to lose our balance. This is where a lot of falls happen. So if you want to increase your ability to have that balance, stand on one leg and see what your balance is like. And then stand on the other leg and measure it against it. Now, if they're way off, you have a compensation. You have dysfunction. So what's the best way to do that? By practice and just implementing this. And this doesn't cost you a dime. Now, what I want to say is that if you do this in barefoot on a hard surface, now you can engage your toes and engage your foot, and you're not weighing on, let's say, a shoe that's dysfunctional. It's worn off on the outside or worn off on the inside. It's just get on your bare feet, allow your feet, your toes to get engaged. The other exercise that not only adjusts or addresses your core, but also your cardiovascular is planking. Now, planking doesn't have to be, you don't have to be there for 5 minutes. But one of the things that you can do as you're planking is, here, monitor this. If you're 60 to 64, you should be able to plank for 40 to 60 seconds. Okay. And that is being a conservative. And if you can't plank for 40 to 60 seconds at the age of 60 to 64, then this gives you something to shoot for, something to have a goal in mind. And if you're in your 20s, you should be able to plank for, 3 to 5 minutes without any problem. And you can kind of measure it. It goes down as you move into each bracket. Now, if you're at 40 years old and you're planking for 3 to 5 minutes, you're doing great. If you're 60 and you're planking for 3 to 5 minutes, you're doing even greater. And it just gives you something to shoot for. But you want to make sure that you have some kind of a measurement that you're at least shooting for. And then you can monitor it going back. The other thing here, this is the big thing, especially as we get with all these gatherings, we're doing a lot of sitting. And what is the common tendency of people when they get up? They reach over for that arm on the chair and they push their body up. Now, let's say, well, Stan, I'm not sitting at chairs with an arm. Okay, how many times are you going to the potty? Okay, and how do you get up from the potty? Okay, I have granddaughters, so potty is the word that we use, and when I had children, it was like, I'm going to the potty, right? But how many times do you go to the potty? Generally, we go a few times a day. And if we're sitting on the throne, how often do we reach down and put both of our hands on our knees and push ourselves up, right? Now, you may not be wanting to picture this, but this is a fact of life. Now, if you're using your hands and you're using them against something to lift yourself up, that tells me that you have a dysfunction, and what you're actually doing is you're increasing that dysfunction by putting pressure on your shoulders and also the compression on your lower back. So now you're not using the largest muscle to lift you up. You're using something else. You're using an aid. When there's an aid needed, that means that there's this dysfunction or a compensation that's taking place. So one of the things that you can do is you sit in your chair and you don't use your hands to press up, put your hands out in front of you and just go from sitting to standing and see how many times you can do that in 30 seconds. Now, this can be a great workout, but it does so much for your body. So if you're 60 to 64, you want to be able to have at least 14 to 19 stands. Now, if you've never done this before, if you've never tried this, don't beat yourself up if you only get 10. Begin today and monitor and shoot for one more next week. Shoot for 2 more the following week and work your way up to where you're getting 20, 25 stands in a 30-second period. Now, if you're in your 20s, you should be able to do 30 to 35 without any trouble at all. And you can kind of monitor it from there. The other thing,
awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's a simple thing. It costs no money. I mean, everybody's got a chair. Excuse me. Everybody's got a couch. If you don't have a couch and you don't have any chairs, I know you have a toilet. So go put the lid down and practice. Okay. And if you don't want anybody to know what it is that you're doing, close the door.
Well, I hope they are closing the door regardless.
Put the lid down and practice this. And we know that you shouldn't take your phone in there with you, but on this occasion, go ahead and set your timer up and see how many sit-to-stands you can do. Now, this is increasing your balance. This is increasing your cardiovascular. It's engaging your thigh muscles. It's engaging muscles that we don't use on a regular basis with an intention. And when I say intention, put your hands out in front of you and do that stand up and see how much strain it creates in your body. Okay. And no pun intended there, but it is, how am I utilizing my body and how can I increase my vitality? How can I increase my longevity? And also introduce these core exercises that don't take any equipment. You don't have to go to the gym to do it. Okay. And then squatting. There's probably very few greater exercises that you can do as you engage your thigh muscles and doing squats. And
Mhm.
don't lock out. So when I talk about locking out, I mean always keep a little bit of tension on your knees. So come all the way to where you're almost up, but don't lock out like this. Don't lock your knees out.
Hmm.
Keep that tension on there and come down as far as you can with
Mhm.
your hands out in front of you without leaning forward. Just come straight up and monitor that.
Mhm.
Here again, squats. One of the ways that you can monitor this, if you're 60 to 64, 20 to 25 in a 1 minute period. So as you're going down and you're coming back up, you can do this, and it's simple. And one of the things that I do is as I'm brushing my teeth, it has a timer on it. So each quadrant, it does 30 seconds and it gives me a little beep. All right. I have a Sonicare toothbrush. I'm not advocating Sonicare, but it has a little timer. So I know that I've got 30 seconds on each quadrant in my mouth. And then I hit it
Uh-huh.
again, my gums and my tongue and whatnot. But what I'm doing is I'm doing squats when I'm brushing my teeth. So there's no
Hmm.
extra time, and it kind of gives
Mhm.
me an idea that as I'm counting, how many squats am I getting in per that 30-second quadrant? And I shoot for a minimum of 15 squats, and it gives me, so I'm doing 75 squats in the morning, first thing in the morning, as I'm brushing my teeth.
Nice idea.
And yeah, it's interesting. It doesn't take any extra time and it doesn't take any extra energy. Well, maybe a
Mhm.
little bit of energy, but it doesn't take, it's not like I gotta set 15 minutes at 9 o'clock to do my
Yeah.
squats. No, I'm doing it while I'm brushing my teeth. And then finally, gripping
Now
a
you
towel.
spoke about a neat little gadget.
Yes. So gripping a towel is something that you can do, but what I actually purchased is a product by a company called D Moose. The letter D is in David, Moose. And they have these bands, and they have another one. It's a yellow one, and I think it is a 6 pound resistance. So the green
Hmm.
or the red is a 10-pound resistance, the green is 15 pound, and the blue is 25 pound. Now I
Mhm.
bought the package of three because I wanted to go from uh maximum and then
Mhm.
move down and do kind of a decline on my resistance. So what you do is you just take this and you can start out wide, and you can do this with a towel. So here again, you don't have to buy anything, but you can take a towel and do the same thing. But here you're actually able to see what changes, and you do this both directions. And so you'll hold this. And as you move in closer, that grip gets a little more resistance. And so I'm holding that, and
Huh.
then I'm going in the reverse. And I want to hold this 6 to 10 seconds. What I'm doing is, as we age, our grip, if we lose our grip, and this increases our longevity, this increases our
Mhm.
vitality internal. So this simple exercise does so much that we don't even
Mhm.
realize what's happening below the surface. And it's a simple tool. You can also take
And
a
I actually have a blog on that. So for those of you who are interested in learning more about the correlation between grip strength and longevity, you can look into my blog, and I did an entire article on that simple hack. So we were saying with the ball, the same thing.
Yeah, so we used to have these stress balls, and we didn't realize that it was doing more to release than just the stress around us. It was actually doing something for our cardiovascular and our strength. And so we can take and do this simple compression, hold it, and just see how long you can hold it before you start to lose your grip. And then monitor that. And notice from one hand to the other when that grip starts to go away. As you write that down, here again, it's just achieving at a 1 micrometer difference. And if you say today you hold it for 3 seconds and you lose your grip, maybe next month you're holding it for 4 seconds. Here again, it's practice and engaging those muscles and changing. And a lot of people have problems in their hand and their palm. So as you do that, you're also kind of massaging, compressing that muscle, pressing it out, and then you can take that ball and roll it in your hand. And there's some other products that you can get. But if you've got pain in your hand, this is one of those things that you can do. It doesn't cost you anything. Most people have a tennis ball or some kind of a squishy ball in their home and just take and massage it. And as you're doing these different grips, you're changing what's going on. So here again, these are simple things that you can do at home. Doesn't cost you a gym membership. And, once again, if you want to know more about longevity and increasing your vitality, Dr. Michelle and myself, we're both focused on this. And I know, from working with Dr. Michelle, she's not just looking at the surface, because what's on the surface is bringing out what's on the inside.
And what I love about working with Stan is that he understands the importance of foundational health, and he talks about it from a simple perspective, meaning it's easy, accessible, and all of the things that we've shared with you today are that simple, easy, accessible, not only in terms of your time, your space, but also in terms of your finances. So you have no excuses to not do these. Okay. So I want to hear from you guys in the chats, in the comment section. Let me know what are the hacks that you are engaging in, and what are your results? What are the progress that you're experiencing as you repeat these? Remember, because the key is repetition. Repetition makes permanent. Practice makes permanent, right? And so the only way we're going to get a return on your investment is if you have those small little investments that are consistent over time. Well, Stan, thank you for wrapping up with a wonderful compilation of longevity hacks as we enter into the new year. I look forward to seeing you guys. And until then, peace and blessings.